Hello everyone. Today we are going to paint the sunflower. I'm going to guide you step by step on how to paint this flower. I have my photo reference here ready right in front of me. This is my basic watercolor equipment. I use a ceramic plate or a ceramic palette to mix my paint. And then some watercolor brushes, a cup of water, paper towel, a set of my favorite paints, and the sketch ready. I like to do my watercolor painting outside, on the terrace, or just by the window during the daylight, as I think natural lights are the best for painting watercolor. I'm just rearranging my equipment here so that I could easily reach what I need as I do the painting. Watercolor paintings comes in layers. The first layers, I don't use that much paint, so a little bit of paint and lots of water. I mix several kind of yellow that I have on my palette. I think this is the color that I'm looking for. First layer is pretty straightforward, so you just basically fill in one petal at a time. And then you can also use a little bit of gradation. It means you put more color at the start of the petal and then less color at the end of the petal. To do that, you just start painting one side of the petal with the brush and then take a clean brush with a bit of water and then just sort of wash off the paint. Because the paint will stay wet a little bit, you don't start on the petal next to it, skip through to the other petal and leave a gap so the paint wouldn't blend in. If you see the first result, you will understand what I mean. So I basically jump from one petal to another as I wait them to get dry. And then after everything gets dry, you can start coloring the petal in between them. I always rotate the paper into the angle that I'm easier to work with. Because sometimes you only need the end or the tip of the brush to color just near the outline. This is how the first layer looks like when it's fully dry. As you can see, the gradation already makes the painting looks a little bit real life. After that, I'm going to jump into the center of the flower. I'm mixing a few brown colors here. I'm trying to imitate the color that's on the reference, that on the photo reference. But you know, in watercolor painting, especially with painting flowers, that's not really right or wrong. So just basically follow your intuition and go with the color that you like. I try to imitate the circular shape of the center of the sunflower, so this is what I do. But the first layer really doesn't really say anything much. So if you can say it's still on the ugly face because you're sort of trying to figure out how to imitate the shape of the flower. But that's okay. We're going to work on that more on the next layers. After that, I'm going to jump on the stem and on the leaf of the flower. I just mix a few green color here. I think the color that I would go is dark olive. The reason why I like to jump from one part to another, because on this stage I also sort of plan what colors will I use on the painting overall. So on the first layer I basically decided the base color on each part of the painting. Sometimes you can also add a little bit more color on the first layer because some of the painting is already dry, or sometimes you just want to add more paint as the painting is still wet, so you will have more texture. After that, I mix a little bit of yellow with a little bit of brown. I attempt to make a darker yellow for the second layers of the flower. And then you basically use the paintbrush to imitate the shape of the flower. You're starting from the inner side of the petal outwards. And you sort of just make a dynamic shape to imitate the shape of the petal. As you can see here, I also jump one petals instead of color one next to it. After the second layers is done, you can see more depth of the color. And then after that, you can even add darker yellow, or in this case, maybe it's a bit brownish, so that you can color the petal that behind the front petals, because sunflower also come to layers. The petals is not only one row, but it's sort of two or three rows. So you color one behind it darker than the one that's in front. You can also add a little bit of detail. So on the outline of the flower, you can just sort of make really thin line. This paintbrush that I use is really good either to paint wide area or really thin details. This paintbrush really have good elasticity. I love this paintbrush so much. This is one of my favorite one. If you don't have a good quality paintbrush, you can also just use different sizes of brushes. Like this one, I'm using the smaller size just to add the details of the petal. This is how it looks like when it's fully dry. Sometimes the color of the paints is a bit different when it's fully dry. At first you think the color is dark enough, but when it's dry sometimes the color gets a bit lighter. So you would want to wait until the color is really dry, is completely dry, and then add a bit more to it. So I'm just basically working on light brown at the moment and add a bit more depth on the second row petals. And then after that I continue working on the center of the flower. I repeat I repeat the circular motion to add a little bit more texture. The inner part is darker than the outer part, so that is what I'm trying to imitate. And then after that I'm adding a little bit more depth on the leaf. So I basically adding a bit more shadow, if you would call it shadow, to refine the shape of the leaf. This is where you're gonna look at the photo reference again to see which part of the leaf is lighter and darker. Is basically where the lighting is coming from. And then I like to use a small brush for this one. I'm painting really small lines, really thin lines on the outline of the petals to refine its shape. And then I also use a really small brush here to imitate the vein of the leaf with a darker green color. After that part is dry, you can still add a bit more darker and shadows, a bit more darker color to imitate the shadows on the leaf. Now here I'm starting to use a darker brown. So you just basically made short lines on the circular motion in the center of the flower like I'm doing now. To imitate the circular motion, it's really handy to rotate the paper so you will retain the same shape of the brush on every part of the center of the flower. Because the center of the flower also have two different colors, I'm using the lighter version of that color and repeat the same shape. I know this part is a lot of work, but I know some people actually love working on this kind of detail and find it relaxing. How about you? What do you think? In the quiet morning like today, I actually enjoy doing this kind of detail work. And then on the outer part of the center of the flower, I use the darker color again to make some sort of three-dimension effect and make contrast color with the flower petals. That's it. That is our sunflower painting today. It's finally done. What do you think? Do you like it? I'm finding myself with a bit better mood after I finish this painting. I think because this flower really have a cheerful color and sunflower just have lots of positive energy, don't you think? Look how happy this flower looks. If you haven't heard about me, my name is Keisha. I'm a watercolor artist from Australia. And because I want you to try this painting method at home, I already uploaded some sketches for you to download for free. You can download as many sketches as you like, and yes, they're all for free. I would print out the sketches directly on watercolor paper. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you investing your time to learn new things and level up your watercolor skill. If you find this video useful, please do subscribe or watch more videos. It will definitely give the support that I need to continue making this kind of tutorial videos for you. Thank you, and I hope to see you on the next videos.